Boxing Truth here. I want to talk a little bit about Floyd Mayweather and how many of his former opponents continue to make him look bad, continue to expose and validate his constant cherry picking throughout his career, and how many of his former opponents continue to make his resume look weak. As Robert Guerrero, a former Mayweather opponent, literally lost to a cab driver from Australia and showed that Robert Guerrero was never much of an opponent that Mayweather decided to fight, as he was constantly avoiding his biggest threat in that division, which was Manny Pacquiao. Guerrero has been washed for quite some time, has not looked good in years. Legs are not there, fighting at a weight he shouldn't be at, and did practically nothing in that division at welterweight, and was an opponent for Floyd, as Floyd was constantly cherry picking the weakest available opposition while avoiding much bigger threats. But this is what made Mayweather's career is defined as, is taking a path of least resistance and constant cherry picking, as he was choosing to fight high jobs or guys that didn't do shit at the weight, or paper champions like Victor Ortiz and Robert Guerrero. On the flip of that coin, Manny Pacquiao was fighting pound for pound level competition, like a more jacked up Marquez, and an undefeated black fighter in Timothy Bradley, who was pound for pound at the time, something Mayweather never did in his career. Never fought an undefeated black fighter in his prime at the pound for pound level. Now, a lot of fanboys dick ride Mayweather's resume as it's one of the best resumes in boxing, but you have to consider when he fought them, where were they at in their careers, and were they truly pound for pound level? Now, fanboys will throw comments at me that he's beaten 26 of current or former world champions and beaten 12 pound for pound level fighters, but that's not true, because I went up and down Mayweather's resume and he hasn't beaten 12 pound for pound level fighters, because you have to consider when did he beat them. Now, I'm going according to Ring Magazine's ratings as a searching tool of who's pound for pound level. They have a list of years of who was on the pound for pound list in each year of the category. So I went up and down Mayweather's resume, and as his former opponents continue to embarrass him, as Victor Ortiz has done jack shit since getting knocked out by Floyd. He was nothing much anyway, was just a paper champion that Floyd cherry picked, another hype job, who was nothing much, a mental case, a guy who really shouldn't be fighting because he's just not mentally built for this boxing game. Robert Guerrero, when life and death struggles with club fighters, you didn't do jack shit to really earn a shot at Floyd, was simply cherry picked as Floyd was avoiding Manny Pacquiao. Canelo Alvarez is one of the very few fighters that continue to make Mayweather look good since losing to Floyd. But unfortunately for Floyd, at the time he fought him, he was not considered pound for pound. All he'd done up until that point was beating Austin Trout. Fought solid guys, but wasn't fighting any top level guys. Everything Alvarez has done in his career, now that he's considered pound for pound level, is since he lost to Floyd. He's fought much better competition, fought more top level fighters, and has the wins in the resume to prove it. But when he fought Mayweather, he was relatively green, only 22 years old, and was also fighting at a catch weight, which takes away from Mayweather's win over him. And he was also not considered pound for pound level. Needed 2 tries to defeat Marcos Maidana, who was a tough fighter. He's got power, but I would not consider him elite. His biggest win in his career was Adrian Broner, another hype job. So when you look at Mayweather's resume, particularly when he signed with Al Heyman, it's pretty damn weak. It's filled with hype jobs, paper champions, guys that didn't do shit in the divisions when he fought them, drained green guys who still had a lot to prove, handpicked opponents, guys coming off 1.5 year layoffs, not fighting guys at their best weight. So I counted how many pound for pound level fighters Floyd truly fought, and it's only 6. And I'm not sure if Oscar was considered pound for pound when they fought. Oscar was practically a semi-retired fighter who really hadn't done jack shit in years. Took all of 2005 off after getting knocked out by Hopkins. Knocked out Mayorga for a strap. Didn't fight for the rest of the year. Then he fought Mayweather, pretty much going in semi-retired and inactive. And somehow Floyd still struggled with him. A lot of people feel De La Hoya won that fight. And if De La Hoya had been more active and was considered more of an active fighter at the time, because he wasn't, he was semi-retired, he probably would have beaten Floyd, because Floyd has a huge weaknesses in his defenses. He's considered a great defensive fighter, but somehow he really doesn't have the ability to defend against a jab, which De La Hoya constantly tagged him with in that fight. It's one of Mayweather's weaknesses. He's very vulnerable to straight punches, which is why he neglected to fight many southpaws in his career. Just ask Top Rank, as when they first promoted him, he was a guy that was hard to find opponents because he was constantly turning opponents down. And it's interesting about Mayweather's relationship with Top Rank, as nowadays he'll say he wished he was with Al Heyman all along. That he would be a much richer man than he was if he had not signed with Top Rank to begin with. But I strongly disagree. I don't feel it's true. I mean, without Top Rank, I don't think Mayweather would have gotten to the position he was at. Top Rank signed him out of the Olympics. They developed him. They tested him out early. They put him in some tough fights, especially at 130, at 135. But then Al Heyman took over, and you see his resume since he left the lightweight division, it fell off. It became a resume of choosing the path of least resistance, fighting opponents he shouldn't be fighting. And he got to the level that he wanted to get at, but it's not because of Al Heyman. It's because of his win over Oscar, him changing his persona, his personality, had a lot to do with it. But it wasn't Al Heyman that got him to that level. I mean, look at Al Heyman's fighters now. Look at his clients now. I mean, when is he going to create another superstar? When is he going to get another big star in his stable? Had Floyd started with Al Heyman in the beginning of his career, he'd probably be like a lot of Al Heyman fighters now, like a Deontay Wilder or Errol Spence, Keith Thurman, Sean Porter. I mean, those guys aren't exactly major draws or major ticket sellers or guys that are grabbing the attention of not just the boxing world but the sports world in general. I mean, Bob Arum got into position to become a pay-per-view star. He got him the fight against Gotti. He was with Top Rank when that fight happened. And he had his best performance that night. To this day, that is his best performance. That was the best he ever looked against Arturo Gotti. Now that was a virtuoso performance. Not only did he box, he punched. He was a boxer punching that night, and he went out and destroyed Gotti, embarrassed him. An impressive performance. But Mayweather's resume is not all that great. It's not all that much. Too many misses in his career. Didn't fight the biggest threats in every division, or just waited simply too long to fight some of these guys. Constantly chose the path of least resistance. And many of his former opponents continued to embarrass him, as Robert Guerrero lost to a cab driver. And if Andre Berto is truly his last fight, it's pretty fitting. He went out as a cherry picker. And if Floyd ever comes back, there's only one fight I want to see him in. There's only one fight that I'm interested in watching Floyd Mayweather come back. And that's Manny Pacquiao. That's the only fight I care about when it comes to Floyd. Because that's the only fight that needs to be made for Mayweather's career. I have no interest in watching him fight anybody else. He's bored me too many times. He's disappointed me too many times. But I know what I saw on May 2nd. I saw Mayweather get absolutely schooled by a one-armed Manny Pacquiao who wasn't 100%. And that's the only fight I'm interested in watching Mayweather again. Thing is, Mayweather is out of business right now. There's not a quality pool of opponents for him to get the type of money that he wants if he wants to fight again. There's no network that's going to guarantee him the type of money that he received before, since many of his pay-per-views have failed to deliver. Just look at the numbers for his last pay-per-view. Why would any network want to take a big risk in that, or take hits financially when guaranteeing a fighter this type of money when he can no longer produce the type of pay-per-view numbers he's done before? The Canelo-Pacquiao fights saved that Showtime contract that they offered him in 2013. Because 4 of those 6 fights of Mayweather's contract failed to deliver financially. Pay-per-view wise. None of those other 4 fights could break 1 million buys, which was needed in order to break even, considering the huge amount of money Floyd was guaranteed for each of his fights. And now Mayweather's out of business. There's only a couple of opponents out there that he can come back, that he can get the type of money that he wants. A Pacquiao rematch, and now he's trying to cherry pick Conor McGregor. But McGregor's a big star. He's got a huge following. And he's averaging pay-per-view numbers that no other boxer's doing right now. But unfortunately, McGregor's being shortchanged by the UFC as they're a monopolized sport. And the type of pay-per-view numbers McGregor is averaging, he should be getting guarantees of upwards of 20 to 25 million. Not just a $3 million guaranteed with no winning bonus that he got for his last fight against Nate Diaz. Mayweather is probably the smartest businessman in boxing. It's impressive with his boring-ass style. The shitty fights he's had, that he was able to become the richest fighter ever. I respect that he was able to market himself like that, able to stand out from the crowd, able to stand out from fighters and be the richest fighter ever. But he fooled a lot of his fans with the constant cherry picking and just a refusal to fight his biggest threats in every division. Just too many. Acelino Freitas, Joel Casamayor at 130. Paul Spadafora, Leonard Durin at 135. Casa Tszyu at 140. Paul Williams, Antonio Margarito at 147. Didn't fight Keith Thurman, who was his mandatory for 2 years. Didn't fight Erizlandi Lara, who was also his mandatory for 2 years. Avoided Manny Pacquiao for 5 years. And yet, he's 49-0. But the truth is, he's received 2 gift decisions. Needed 2 tries to beat Marcos Maidana. And needed a corrupted referee to get by that rematch with Maidana, as is one of the most boring fights I've ever seen. Can never make it past round 3. If you had trouble sleeping, just put that fight on. But yeah, a lot of paper champions. Fighting guys coming off losses, not fighting them at their best weight. He's beaten 6 pound-for-pound level fighters. One of them in Marquez, who was coming up from lightweight and hadn't yet received any memo shakes that changed his physique drastically. Fighting hype jobs like Victor Ortiz, Robert Guerrero. Needing 2 tries to defeat Maidana. Getting a gift decision against Manny Pacquiao. And fittingly going out as a cherry picker, if that's truly his last fight in Andre Berto. But that's Mayweather's career for you. Very unimpressive resume. Too many misses, too much ducking, too much cherry picking, too much corruption, gift decisions, and never a willingness to do VADA testing. It's going to be interesting to see if Floyd ever does come back. Will he ever fight for a WBC title again? Since the WBC has administered a clean boxing program, which has mandated the top 15 rated boxers within the WBC in every division has to do year-round mandatory testing with VADA, an organization Mayweather has never used and probably never will, as I doubt he'll ever fight for a WBC title again. But maybe he can corrupt some of those guys and pay them off and continue to use USADA. But I don't talk much about Floyd. I don't really give a shit about him. Didn't please me with his career. Many of his performances were disappointing. Got gift decisions. Avoided biggest threats in every division he competed in. Didn't do VADA testing. And the only fight I care to see him back for is a Manny Pacquiao rematch. Otherwise, you can stay retired, Floyd. Because I don't give a fuck. Many fans don't give a fuck if you ever come back. This is Boxing Truth. I'm out.